Hey everyone, welcome to today's webinar. I am Joe with Inktobo. I am the co-founder of SignTracker, now work for Inktobo, and my job is to train and support you, which I love doing, so I'm glad I'm here with you today. So I wanted to focus primarily on the job flow board. So if you've never used a job flow board or a Kanban board, I think you'll find that it'll be a great replacement for that whiteboard that you might have in your shop. So let's take a look at how a job flow board is intended to be used. Before we get started, on the dashboard, so if you're in your SignTracker account, as soon as you start putting jobs on the job flow board and assigning due dates to them, on your dashboard, you will kind of get a snapshot of each of the columns that these columns match the columns that are on your job flow board, but you can start to see like, hey, I have, two jobs in pre-production that are running behind. I have right now, five jobs in opportunity. They're on time. So it kind of will help you to see some of the bottlenecks that might be going on. And as a reminder, on your dashboard, there are a lot of resources to help you along in your journey with SignTracker as you start incorporating it into your shop. There is a help center and there's quick guides you can download as well as training videos. This webinar right now is being recorded. So you can always go back to click this and go to the YouTube channel and you'll find all the recorded webinars. We have two Facebook groups. One is for SignTracker specifically, and the other one is our community group called Behind the Signs. If you're on Facebook, we would love to have you join. Lots of great industry information. We have a podcast that we broadcast through there, as well as on our YouTube channel. Lots of sign shop owners and technicians and project managers and designers all helping each other. There's community chats. There's a file section with a bunch of free stuff. So I encourage you to join that group. Also, we do weekly, 2 times a week. We have live webinars like this one right now that you're in. And so you can join any of these anytime. I always encourage people too, if you get a new employee, rather than sitting down and taking the time to really train them how to use SignTracker, send them to some of the webinars. Now, you might have to get in and show them how you tweaked it and how you use it for your shop, but at least they'll get the basics down if they join one of our webinars. So let's go ahead and talk about the job flow board. Under your jobs tab is where you're going to find your job flow board. So we'll just go ahead and go to the job flow board from here. There is a different view of the job flow board. There's a work in progress list view, I guess you'd call it, which I kind of liked. I used it a lot at my shop, but I'm going to go ahead and open that tab as well because we'll bounce over there and take a look at that. But this is the job flow board. This is like brain central for SignTracker. This is where you're going to see the big picture of all your jobs. So how it works is when you start a new job, and you can do that under the jobs tab, new job, and you fill out the form for the new job. I won't do that because you'll have to watch me type really slow, and I don't want to put you through that. But basically, what it does is it lands a job card in on the first column in the job flow board. So, at our shop, we called everything a job. So even though technically it's not a sole job, it's an opportunity. We would call it open bid, but you can change the name of these columns if you want. Just double click and you can change the name. But it's an opportunity. And so if for some reason you don't get this job, it's okay. You can always archive it, but at least you've captured customer information, contact information, maybe some files or logos, and you never know when they're going to come back to you. So, and I'll show you how to archive jobs in a few minutes. But the thing about the job flow board that's nice, in a lot of sign shops that use SignTracker have the job flow board up on a large screen, and it gives everyone a really good idea of what's coming down the pipeline. So each of these columns represents a stage of production. Now, don't confuse a stage of production with a task, because there can be many tasks that are done under each stage of production, and the tasks are actually managed inside the job and they can be assigned to people. So we'll talk about that in a second. But the idea with the job flow board is that you slide them through these stages of production and you prioritize them based on your resources or basically what's important to you. So let's say, for example, you have 3 jobs right now in production, and we're going to go ahead and assign a due date to this job. We'll say this job's due, the end of the month. Well, this job here and this job here are small jobs, but this job here might tie up your printer for half a day. maybe it's just a giant job, multiple things or whatever. So you think, okay, I'm going to go ahead and slide this and this in front of that job. I'm going to knock these out because once these jobs are done, I can take them and I can slide them all the way down here to the closeout stage and I can bill the customer. So that's the idea really, is that you're going to prioritize these based on what's important to you. It could honestly be that this client is the best. They pay on time. They don't haggle over price. They're a long time customer and you just always take care of them. And that's the way it is. It's fine. If you're a hardcore, first in, first out person, you can sort these columns by due date. But really, ultimately, it's up to you to prioritize things the way that you want them prioritized. Couple things about the job flow board that are pretty cool. So this little gear icon right here, if you click that, if you want to see when you're setting up jobs, you can tag a sales rep. Now, if you're a small shop and you say, well, wait a minute, I'm the project manager, I'm the sales rep, I'm the, janitor, I'm everything. That's fine. At least tag yourself as the sales rep to a job, because when you get to the point where you start quoting in SignTracker and you're sending out quotes to customers, and we have a little mini DocuSign kind of tool that's built into the quotes, and your client signs off on it, it comes back to you, and it alerts you, and it marks it as approved in the system, but it also sends you an email that says, hey, Joe signed off on his banner quote or whatever. If you're big enough where you have a project manager and salespeople, then that's great. You can show those on the job cards, date created, so you can start to see an aging on a job, and then full description. I'll show you what that is in a minute. The job cards can get pretty long if you decide you want to have to see all the notes. And then this is just a color preference if you like a darker color on your job flow board. So those are some settings there. Each of these little icons here will show you, okay, there is 22 tasks assigned to this job. There's one note in this job, and there's 3 attachments in this job. So you can see that. Now, if you click here on the description, and you can put live links in here, email. So if you have links to say, a certain special order material, or maybe it's an electric sign project and you have links to city codes or subcontractors or whatever, but just to show you, blah, 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 blah. I just want to make it a little long here for a second. But when you say show full description as one of the options in the gear icon, that's what that means. And some folks like that. They don't mind having long job cards. They get to see all the notes. But anyway, you can click that and I'll just get rid of those and go back here. So that's pretty much some of the setup for this. These columns are, if you put your cursor right underneath the name, you can order them any way you want. If you click these 3 little dots here, you can insert a column after, so you can have as many columns as you like. If you want fewer columns, you can, delete them when you're first setting them up and just have a few. It's completely up to you. The other thing that's pretty cool, let's say if your shop, you have a front end and a back end, right? So you have, the front end of the house where you have an admin person, an estimator, maybe a few designers or whatever. But the folks in the back of the house, the shop fabricators and all that, maybe they don't want to see all these stages of production. You can actually set up different views. So you can decide these are all the columns, and you can decide like, okay, I'm in production and I really don't want to see all that other stuff. I want to block that out. And so, or if you just, you want to see everything, you can see everything. So you can set up different views, and those will be default views. For whoever logs in, that'll be their default view. If you want to just collapse the jobs and have smaller looking cards, you can do that. And all you got to do is just hit the little thing here and it'll collapse it and it'll open it, or you can view like that. If you're just, a project manager, you only want to look at the jobs you're associated with, you can filter these out. You can also do a search. So if I was in here looking for, I just was going to work on ABC bank jobs, I could filter all the other ones out, and I could even hide them if I wanted to, and it would minimize them. And I knew these were just the, ABC bank jobs I was going to work on. So apparently I do a lot of work for ABC Bank. So those are just some tools to have different views. But I would say the thing about a job flow board that's really cool, and like I said earlier, putting it up on a screen in your shop, it just gives everyone a real sense of what the shop is working on. Like it creates a real sense of urgency. And I always love that. And if you're not having production meetings, I would really highly recommend. I've talked to some sign shops that have production meetings every single morning, and you know what? Bravo. I don't think we ever got it together that well at my sign shop, but we had production meetings twice a week, pretty religiously. So we would get the day going on Mondays at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm sorry, at right after lunch. Thursdays, we did it at 10 o'clock in the morning. But right after lunch, we would have a production meeting, and it was a pretty big one. And we would go through all of these job cards. And if, something was put on hold, we could put it on hold. Maybe it was, pending a color approval or was pending a permit. So you could put a big red border around it that would kind of block it from moving forward. But in our production meeting, of course, we would always talk about the jobs that were blocked. So this one, pending materials, like what is up with the materials? Who needs to check on that? And if the materials came in, that's great. We can unblock it and move it from pre-production into production. We have everything we need to start making it. And if you're not responsible for moving job cards, but it's ready to move to the next stage, everything is on track, you can just put it ready for next stage. Now, on the blocking, you have to unblock it manually, but on the ready, you can just drag it and it'll remove it. So to the next stage. But the big thing is, we would go through each of the job cards pretty thoroughly on Monday. And then, it'd take a couple of hours, and then it would give us a couple more hours late Monday afternoon to finish up the day, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday. We had what was called a stand-up meeting. It was a hard stop at an hour, and we really just kind of worked on the blocks. What it was anything kind of approaching the due date, was anything keeping it from being installed on time or fabricated on time or whatever, shipped on time or ready for the customer to pick up or whatever it might be. And then we would really focus on the blocks to like, hey, look, this due date might be creeping up on us and we still don't have the permit. What's going on? Do we need to communicate with the customer? Do we need to put pressure on the city, or what do we need to do? But the goal is ultimately to get all your jobs down here to the closeout stage. And what we did at our shop, and you can do this any way you want. If you're syncing with QuickBooks, of course, all your approved quotes will be sent over to QuickBooks, and you can watch the video on how to do all that. But for us, anybody could move a job into the closeout stage. It was done, and usually the goal was all the tasks were completed, and the customer was happy, and the only thing that was pending was the final payment. Now, in some cases, if you folks have a shop where, hey, customer picks up the sign in the shop, they pay before it goes out the door. That's awesome. But if you have any kind of terms or you're going to bill the customer, what we would do is we would, again, put it on hold. And then we would say this was invoiced out, let's say on 3/20, and would go, okay. So basically, every morning, the person that was responsible for sending out the QuickBooks invoices would come in and they would go through this the closeout column. And if they saw jobs that did not have a red border, they knew that it had to be billed out, and they would do it. And they would put the red border around it. And then once that final payment was received, they were the only ones that could actually move the job into archive. Now, archive here is only the last 10 jobs, but don't panic, because every job you archive in SignTracker gets saved forever. All the attachments, all the history, everything you've done to it, it'll always be there so you can refer to that historical data. And you can find archive jobs either by using the universal search in the system. I think one of the better ways is just to go use this search, go to the client itself. So say if you were going to this particular client, and I could see here all the jobs that I've ever done for that client, and every one of them's here. But you could, if you knew the job, you can also just search for the job too. But what's cool is, you go to these archive jobs, everything's there. And if it's a job, let's say a customer orders the same thing over and over again, you can go to that archive job, clone it, and SignTracker will make a copy of it with the quotes, the notes, the tasks, all the stuff, and it'll give it a new job number, and then you don't have to start from scratch. But anyway, so that's the job flow board. And again, these are the job cards. Inside the job, I like to think of this as an electronic job folder, is where you do everything, tasks and notes and attachments and creating contracts and storing quote worksheets, tons of forms. I encourage you to take a look at those. Really cool sign templates, all very technical vectorized sign templates, super helpful. Of course, I can move a job from stage to stage right from here. I can change the due date right from here. If I'm really old school and wanted to print this, I can do that too. But anyway, we're going to, in another video, go through managing the job and organizing the job itself. There is an activity tracker also inside here. So anytime somebody completes a task or attaches a file or moves a job from stage to stage or whatever, it's going to say who did it, when it was done, timestamp it. Of course, this is my demo account, so it's showing me doing everything. But so anyway, that's the job flow board. Um, let's talk about the job list for just a minute. It's just a different view, really. It's all the same information that's on the job flow board. It's just a different view. So I could, if I was a salesperson or a project manager and I wanted to just, sort out my jobs, I could do that. I think Brooke and I are associated with almost every job in here. So let me see if I can find somebody else. We'll say Rob. Okay, so if I was this salesperson, I could filter out all my jobs. Okay, here's 4 jobs I'm working on. I could also sort them by stage, which is nice. So if I had a bunch of opportunities, I could bring those to the top and just click this job name, hold down. I'm on a Mac, so it's Command key Control on a PC. I click that and it brings me back to inside the job. Then I close it. But the thing that's nice is, I'm a list view person. So if I was working on a bunch of stuff and I knew I had to work on all my opportunities, it's just easier for me to do it through here. I can change due dates from here, which is really cool. I can change stage to stage from here if I want to, or if I knew I lost this job, it just didn't work out. I can go right here and archive it from here, and it'll move it off the job flow board and move it into archives. And again, you can always access those. So that is basically the 2 ways to keep all your jobs from falling through the cracks. You don't have to worry about writing a job on a post-it note anymore and sticking it somewhere on your computer screen. This is your post-it note right in the job flow board. And it can eliminate your whiteboards. It can eliminate, just losing things. And I think that's one of the biggest things that SignTracker does is it helps you keep your jobs from falling through the cracks, and then it helps you keep track of all the information and all the assets on a job. Because if you really want to make your customers happy, at least have the jobs in your system and know where they are if they call so you can give them an update. But anyway, thank you for spending a few minutes with me talking about the job flow board and the job work in progress list view today. Always excited to spend time with you guys, and keep making great signs. Reach out to us if you need any help. And again, on the dashboard, please feel free to take advantage of all of these different resources. Reach out to us if you need any support. We're here to help you. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great afternoon. All right, take care. Bye. Thanks so much for checking out SignTracker, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on YouTube.